it's kind of funny. It shouldn't feel any kind of controversial to say that I still believe in the number one pick from just 3 years ago, but it kind of is, and that speaks to how crazy the first 3 years of Cade Cunningham's career has gone, where, most number one picks come in and they're expected to save the franchise. They're expected to drag the franchise they were drafted to out of the cellars and at the very least into like the middle of the pack or hopefully higher. And Cade Cunningham obviously has not done that. But not only has he not done that, he's been the guy on one of the most chaotic teams over the last few years, where the Pistons make all these additions, they bring in Monty Williams, and it's supposed to look so good, and they not only don't even sniff the play-in, they literally have the single longest losing streak in all of professional sports. And that's with Cade Cunningham at the helm. And whether you want to blame him or not, it's definitely not a great look when you're supposed to be the guy for a franchise and you're not only not necessarily leading them to winning, but you're sending them so far, or at least you're present while that team is being sent so far in the opposite direction that it was just so beyond chaotic. The fact that you literally fired a head coach 1 year into what was it, like a 5-year, $70 million contract, to be a part of that for whatever, whether how much blame you think he deserves, it's not a good look. And it definitely has some people jumping off the Cade Cunningham bandwagon. But I if you want to sell your Cade Cunningham stock, I'm still buying it, because even despite how truly awful last year was for the Pistons, if you go and you look at Cade's numbers, you'd see 22 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. The points and assists, career highs. Those are elite numbers in my book. 48% on twos, 35% on threes, both career highs as well. 4.4 free throw attempts per game, career highs, which he also shot in the high 80s on. So you're talking about this dude set career high numbers across the board, somehow on a team that was so dysfunctional, that was so poorly constructed with minimal shooting and just quality NBA players. This dude still managed to put up career highs across the board, got better, great numbers. I see that, and then I think, okay, things can't possibly get worse for the Pistons, can they? You look at the additions that they made. Monty Williams gone, JB Bickerstaff, new head coach. So I don't necessarily think JB Bickerstaff is a great head coach, but I do think he's a good head coach. And so bringing that new guy in, hopefully that'll inject some new life, some new energy into that team on both ends of the ball. You bring in Tobias Harris, who I know we all like to make jokes about. He's a little overrated when he was getting paid what he did in Philly, but I think bringing him in on the contract that they did, and also considering that they desperately need both veterans and some semblance of shooting, I think bringing a guy like Tobias Harris, even though he's up and down, even though he's inconsistent, I think having that guy, specifically having that guy at the power forward spot, I think is going to be great. Tim Hardaway Jr. definitely has his moments. I think Malik Beasley, super underrated signing in terms of providing that floor spacing for Cade Cunningham. I think those are a lot of great additions that I'm not necessarily going to sit here and say, hey, I think the Pistons can sniff the plan. I don't even know if that's true, but I just think, those were quality steps to build a respectable, competent roster and to put Cade Cunningham in the best position to succeed. Because as much struggles as they've had, again, Cade Cunningham, career high numbers, and also the most important thing is this dude is a 6'6" ball handler. You can't teach that kind of size and mobility. And so for the Pistons to have it, for Cade Cunningham to have it, I think that right off the bat should just make you still very encouraged about what you've seen, because there just aren't that many guys in the league who can handle the ball, who could play make, who could shoot at that size. So in theory, there is a foundation there. And as much as Cade Cunningham's been through in his first 3 years, that makes you maybe want to hop off the bandwagon. The dude is only about to turn 23. He's going to turn 23 at the end of September. He's still, basically what I'm trying to say is that everything is still fine in the land of Cade Cunningham. I still think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to make multiple All-Star teams in his career. I think the issue that a lot of people have when it comes to top picks and number one picks in particular is we always want them to do what LeBron James did, where you're supposed to come in and drag, whatever franchise you're on back into the playoffs, back to relevance, to the finals. You got to do it yourself, one-man show, all that stuff. That's what we expect from these guys. When the reality is that's just not most rookies, just young players, even the best young players can't necessarily do that. They're not a LeBron or they're not a Luka. Most guys, I always say most guys, like a Devin Booker, like a De'Aaron Fox, those guys need quality pieces around them to lift that franchise up. And so Devin Booker got it, and then you saw made the finals and now consistent playoff performer. De'Aaron Fox got it, ended the Kings playoff drought. Hopefully, they're going to get back to the playoffs this year, playing last year. And so with Cade, I have no doubt. I don't know if these are necessarily the moves to help Cade, lift the Pistons back into the playoffs, but I do think they are solid moves to help get the Pistons going in the right direction. And I think, however much Cade has already done and what he's already accomplished, which I think is more than what people realize when because I do think the Pistons and all the losing they had last year really clouded what was ultimately a really successful third season from an individual perspective. I think those moves are going to do a lot in helping Cade lift the Pistons back to relevance. And I think a lot of people are going to see like, oh, we maybe like jumped off this guy too early because he was still really great last year despite all the struggles. So then like just think about, okay, what could he possibly do now if you start to put more competent pieces around him, and how is he going to look, and how is it going to affect the team? And I have no doubt in my mind that's going to have a positive effect, because I'm still a big believer in Cade Cunningham, and I wish that wasn't as controversial to say as it feels. How do you feel about Cade Cunningham? Leave your comments in the comments.